Okay, so we just finished the Trump-Harris debate, the last presidential debate with President Trump and President Biden led to President Biden losing that debate and dropping out after saying it would take a miracle from God or a sign from God, a work from God to make him drop out. So now we have Kamala Harris that is running. Kamala Harris and President Trump had not met up to this point. This is the first time that they had met. Um, so that surprised me. I didn't know that they had never met prior to this, and that's surprising. A few points. So Trump made some promises of how he would make some solutions that just after the election, if he's elected, he's going to make these solutions before even being sworn in. So we're going to go over that. That's involving war with Ukraine, between Russia and Ukraine. It's also involving the war in Israel. Um, when they first approached, Kamala introduced herself. I said, "I am Kamala." I'm like, okay, uh, appropriate because they'd never met in person before. Um, she ended up getting to start off and give her introduction, tried to relate to the people, but then went on the attack right away. Sherry Link says, "Hello from Ohio." Hello from Idaho. Um, it seemed like she was projecting quite a bit. Um, one of the things that they hit on over and over again was claiming that each other were liars and then claiming that each other had no plans. The thing is that we've seen President Trump as a president before, and we've seen his rhetoric and how he talks, but then he backs it up with actual solutions and he does things because it seems like his solution is to, hey, I'm not going to tell you these things because I need to go in and negotiate. It's all about negotiation. It's about finding out what the facts are with those people directly and then coming up with a solution. And you see this with their closing statements. The thing he wants to do is uh, he's asked directly about the war in Israel and Ukraine, and he just says, "I want the dying. I want people to stop dying. I want the killing to stop. I want war to stop." And so, uh, Kamala Harris, her solution is, for Israel, for example, is the two-state solution. Um, but the thing is that they can't agree on anything, and if that could have been solved, it would be solved already. They're already there. That's a point that Trump makes quite often is you're already in it. If you are promising these changes, you can do it right now. So why aren't you? That's the, when I ran for sheriff, I made that same talking point is you're making all these promises, but you're the lieutenant. You could do all that right now. Why haven't you done it in the past 20 years? You could have done it. So we got Sri Link. Palestinians don't want two-state. Yeah, they don't. Neither do the Israelis. Palestinians want a complete destruction of Israel. That's plain and simple. There is no two-state solution. Um, she uh, she made the point of saying that people are concerned about President Trump being president around the world because he's of his temperament. And this is one of the strongest things that she actually said. And she said, people don't trust your temperament. The thing is he's like, yeah, they don't. I wouldn't have gone to war if I was in there because they don't trust my temperament. So he tried had to work late, so I'm still watching the live, but I'll have to catch up with your thoughts later. Well, thanks, Mike. Always love your comments, and this will definitely be up later. Um, what was the point I was making? Um, oh yeah, the solutions. Their solutions. His is negotiation. Hers is let me throw money at it. So one of her big things that she mentioned was $50,000 to help small businesses, this tax credit, whatever, and we're gonna make a new family. What's wrong with the nuclear family? Why do we have to have a new family? This is the point that she makes, saying that Trump wants to go backwards. He's history. He wants to go backwards. I want to go forwards. But her forward of a new family is the destruction of the nuclear family. Forward, everything that she suggested is that something, which means that it has to come from taxpayers. So you can't help taxpayers by taking from the taxpayers. So her solution is throw, throw, throw. Right? She's a lawyer. If she wins, this would be the first time her mouth got her to her position by actually speaking. Right? Moderators fact check Trump, but not Harris. Yeah, that's true. And Trump actually is like, no, no, look into that. Do a special on it. You better look into that. It seemed to me that the moderator, the male moderator, had a bias that seemed very apparent to me. Get government out of our lives. Yeah. And she tries to suggest, oh, well, the government shouldn't be in charge of what women do with their bodies. The thing is that the turnover of Roe versus Wade, which was bad uh, case law to begin with, it never should have passed. But now that it's gone back to the states, it's where it should be on a legislative level. That's where it should be, is with the states. It should not be a federal position. Uh, Key. Yes, she had lots of plans, but who pays for all that? We're struggling to get as it is financially. That's right. Because she's part of the plan that you'll own nothing and be happy. Notice how everything is planned obsolescence. That includes you and me. All of our technology, planned obsolescence. It's no good in 2 years. You have to get a new iPhone every 3 to 4 years, if 4 years if you're being thrifty, because it's planned obsolescence. And this is what they have done with humanity as well. She talked about helping the aged folk. The thing is, I don't trust how uh, a Democrat position helps geriatrics. Look at COVID and what happened in New York. They funneled all these people with low immune systems into an area that were sick, all with COVID and high mortality. Just everybody just starts dying. Their decision making, if you're looking at their decision making, one is, doesn't seem like she makes too many decisions, and she doesn't act on too many decisions either. Whereas Trump is constantly making decisions, and if he makes a bad one, he still goes and corrects it. He goes and says, "Okay, well, let's fix it then." But the thing is that when he makes a decision, it's usually in a partnership, or it's tied in with something else. So if it goes bad for me, it goes bad for you too, kind of thing. So that's why he leans really heavily on negotiations. So when he says that he's going to be elected, one of the things he said, man, I wrote down, is within 2 years, if Harris is elected, Israel would be destroyed. Said that if Harris is elected, if she's president, this nation would be Venezuela on steroids. Okay? So these are things that Trump is actually saying, which is something he's going to be held to. Where on the reverse, Kamala also said that uh, another Trump election administration would be the end of the nation. All right, not even Venezuela. It would just be, and everything would be destroyed. That's very vague. Doesn't make too much sense. Venezuela on steroids, to me, that's, and the thing is, his economic policies were functional. They worked. It got more of the other countries paying rather than us paying, and which is less weight on the taxpayer shoulders. Jock has Trump 2024. Yeah, I'd agree with you. JD, it looked like she had an earpiece in her right ear and notes. She speaks incoherently without the pitches. Also, 3 against 4 minutes. Quite sad. Yeah, the thing they said you cannot have notes. There's no audience, but they do have papers set in front of them with a pen, right? So they can mark on something that they want to come back to later. I did see her looking down and writing down notes. Trump didn't do that. Trump's like, no, I'm confident in what I'm saying, what I'm doing. You could tell she gets very shaky and she doesn't know what to say. So when she's trying to be a lawyer, she's all, but when she gets upset, you could tell like she really hates him. She hates him. It's very personal for her, and she is scared, right? So that's when she gets a little heat, a little bit more fluid. But other than that, it's the same talk. So it sounds like she's coherent, but really all it is it's throwing out the same old talking points. And Trump did this too. When things were going awry, he would try and throw out one of his strong points, like the border, and or uh, he World War III was mentioned once. So, but things together. The moderators kept interrupting him. It wasn't towards the end until they actually cut her off, and it was surprising because she was loving that. It seemed like Trump was getting argumentative with the moderators, but then she became argumentative, and then she got cut off. So that was the first time seeing her cut off. I'm like, okay, they're not being exclusively just cutting off Trump and saying let's fact check him. And those fact checks were like readily there too, for only against him, and the phrasing of their questions, especially January 6th, was just key. I'm still waiting to hear her reasoning for changing views on things. Her explanation could sway people if she actually answered with valid reasoning. And what's funny is because Trump said that she's doing 2 things. They both claim no, he doesn't have a plan, and then no, she doesn't have a plan. But her plan that she's parroting are things that she's pulled from the Trump administration that happened when he was president. And then the other stuff is just being pushed. It's continuation of Biden administration, right? So Trump actually says, "Man, you're stealing so much of my stuff. I felt like I wanted to send you a MAGA hat." Because, and so what he said is, even if you elect her and she has all my policies that she's trying to adopt to win people over, she would not carry them over. She would not do them if she's elected. She's just going to try and swoop up people who are on the fence and get out. Now, if you looked at the projections, it looked like a tight thing with Trump in the lead. I was even surprised there because I don't know who could possibly have any trust in that woman. Like, her mouth can only get her so far, and she's reached that limit. She's not going any further. There's no one she could give favors to. She's done. Okay, and if I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say, but she can only go so far, and I don't think the people even want her. The Democrats would have been far better off if they had kept Tulsi Gabbard, level-headed people. Um, in fact, I wonder how much people we saw RFK, who went over to the Trump team, offered that position, CIA director, and it's funny. Trump brought up how that the Biden administration has utilized the Department of Justice to target political enemies. Now, this does happen. This happens on a local level, and it happens on a grand scale. In fact, if we look back at JFK and what we've recently learned about the Nixon case, the CIA is implicated in each of these things. So now our own government is being exposed. That this is something that they do, and now we're seeing it in real time. She also mentioned that the charges against Trump didn't work, and JD Vance isn't going to stop Trump. So now it's up to the American people. This is where Trump comes in and says, yeah, it's that kind of rhetoric that got people shooting at my head. It's like, it's because of your hateful rhetoric that has caused this type of conflict in our own nation, where someone actually tried to shoot him. And then the moderator interrupts him on this very strong point and then redirects. Of course, right? And you could tell that there's a bias in there. Kamala's strong points that she kept going to is women's rights, fertility rights. There's some pushback there. They talked about abortion, abortion rights. The thing that Trump got fact checked on was he was talking about how to, out of Virginia, the governor was saying that they could take, there was infants up to 9 months that they would then still be able to perform an abortion up to 9 months or up to term. And they fact checked, said that's not true, that's not true. And Trump hammered on and said no, because this has been a talking point for Trump for a long time. He's said this a lot. The other thing that he got fact checked on was in bigger cities, the illegal aliens coming in that are eating the pets of citizens, their cats and their dogs. And this is the first point when he went really heavy. They're eating their cats and their dogs. And Kamala Harris is very, very using a lot of facial gestures. And she's like she's really wanting to project this idea of craziness, right? So they do a fact check and say, well, the city manager says that there's no evidence of that. They haven't been able to verify that. Then Trump says, well, that may be something good for the city manager to say to you guys, but there's videos, there's people saying that their animals are going missing. They're eating them. So it's just because if there's not evidence readily available, packaged nicely, it can't be a testimonial either, right? So those are the 2 points that he got fact checked on. Other times he was just interrupted. They talked about the voting and said he talked a lot about how the crime rates around the world are going down. And it's because the crime rates in America were going up. The crime in America is going up because countries like Venezuela are pushing their people and saying, don't come back here, we'll kill you. And they're pushing their criminals up to the U.S., to the Democrat Party. And there's videos of illegal aliens saying, oh yeah, we're coming in to vote because we're going to get free stuff from the Democrats. So obviously we're coming in. And so we're seeing states right now that are auditing, collecting, and getting these mail-in ballots, the extra ballots that shouldn't be going out, right? And that they're tidying things up to make sure that they aren't having ballots go to illegal alien camps to mark and pile into these elections. And elections do get messed up too. Like, for example, I was there on the count of my election, and I saw that I had lost. I lost to a guy who bribed bribed the school people, and we exposed it. He was bribing the school administration, sending gifts, things like that, things that are against the law. Exposed that, so he lost. But then they voted in a guy who, sleeps with the people he arrests, gets drunk all the time, is hardly sober. A guy who is in his garments, which he threw away his covenants, and got stripped down and danced on the bar of a bar, and was completely wasted. That guy, as an officer, that guy is the new sheriff in town, who's also been the lieutenant for some time now. So, he's relayed to half the town. So I guess we're going to see more of corruption because that's what people like. Um, as far as oh yeah, the election, the newspaper locally here said that I had won. So I got all these congratulatory emails and texts first thing in the morning, and I said, no, I actually lost. I was there at the count, and so we had to send it into the paper and let them know that they had the count wrong. So mistakes do happen, even with all the backups and stuff, and they audit everything too. Um, so again, Trump is saying, yeah, the criminals are being sent to the Democrats. They're being sent to her to vote for them, and that's not a lie. That's not a lie. But then they fact checked and said, hey, well, actually, it's our statistics show that crime rates are actually going down. So crime is down in the U.S. The thing is that cops aren't enforcing what they used to enforce anymore because they know that their department doesn't back them up. I know that because I was a freaking cop with two departments that didn't back me up. Never broke any policy, any rule, anything like that. But if they don't like you, they're going to make things difficult for you all the way up until they falsify something against you. And if you don't have a lawyer with you, they just sweep it under the rug and go, oh, well, sorry. So people aren't enforcing things like they used to, especially with the whole look at the riots. How much of the riots was considered criminal activity? Defund the police expedition that they had to reverse very quickly because they realized they're losing control of things. So statistically, it may not look like that. Trump defends this by saying, well, you didn't take the largest crime cities, you took those out of the picture and just measured the other averages. You didn't take big cities. And I doubt that they have every record of all the crimes from all those, everything that's been happening with the riots. She mocks Trump all like throughout the whole thing. She doesn't lose an opportunity to give a facial gesture, making him like out to be a. Can you believe this guy? And if you've seen this, this is something I see all the time that really I can't stand. Is this Mary Sue look of like this Mary Sue look I've been seeing through all the Disney movies where they have a colored female lead who is always the hero for everything. She has all the answers, and everyone else is stupid around her, and she has to put up with the stupidity. That's the look that she's giving, and that's the look that's being pushed all throughout all these Disney movies and Amazon films. Is oh no, like I noticed this while watching Rings of Power, and even the Star Wars. I was watching even a Star Wars little kids cartoon, and I just thought it was funny. I'm like, oh look, it's like you know how in Disney it was the parents that were always in a sitcom supposed to be the stupid ones. It went from parents being the caring, nurturing ones who you have to trust, and then they deal like in Full House or in Family Matters or any of those things. It turned into sitcoms of how the parents are idiots and the kids kind of run the show. The kids run everything. The kids are acting like adults. Kids going to cafes and parties as if they're in college. That has now just expounded everywhere. So we've seen how we're being shaped to not trust the nuclear family. This is all part of Harris's new family deal. I don't trust that new family deal. Here in Idaho, we had a male individual in prison, locked away with the women, and had the state pay for his sex change so he could be imprisoned with women because he pretended to be a woman. Like, And we're seeing this all throughout Hollywood, trans junk. With, like, what are these um, actors preparing for? No, I thought that, you know, I'm sure that they're good actresses, actors, and they're going the full what's it called, method acting. But last time I checked, it was Pinocchio's nose that grew when he told the lie. Yeah, this is, we're seeing something else. So here's the things that they did not mention. Things that you would think they would mention as a leader of the free world, especially this nation, is I wanted to hear more about what the biggest threat to this nation was. I wanted to hear more about families. I wanted to hear about healthcare, like holistic healthcare, clean energy. They they talked about these things in vagaries, but not in solutions, or working with private sector and allowing them to flourish and work on clean energy stuff. Not like windmills and junk like that. That's good for your personal house or a shed, but not en masse, right? I wanted to hear more about education. I wanted to hear more about jobs. They did talk about jobs, and it was Harris's attack against Trump, saying after COVID, we were given this huge mess, as if they didn't know what was going to happen with COVID. Like, first off, let's remember that Trump's trade deals with China helped restrict the flow of COVID into this nation before COVID ever happened. So that was already a good deal. Not only that, but it was our nation, our people funding it through channels and channels and channels to that laboratory, and we knew everything that was going on. So trying to play off that junk, you cannot use COVID as a look at this mess, because they all knew what was going on. It was gain of function research, which our nation was full aware of. So they cannot blame for that. And the jobs that came back, everything was set in place by Trump administration, and the jobs were comeback jobs. Like 3 part-time jobs versus 1 career. I almost lost my job for not wearing a mask. I put on a Mandalorian mask because I thought wearing masks were ridiculous. Um, let's see, Key. Sorry, Mike Lewis. Still watching the debate, sitting on the couch, holding my wife down so she doesn't punch David Murray in the face and break my TV. Hey, don't get frustrated at my dad does this. He yells at the TV. Key, ha, I feel her frustration. Yeah, that's the thing is, the point I wanted to hit on real hard was Trump's discussion about what would happen with Israel. So he said within 2 years, Israel would be destroyed. How well does he know his scriptures? I know he's talking secular to a secular audience and people generally. But within 2 years, Israel being destroyed, and that's if she's elected. However, he promises to end the war with Russia and Israel and Hamas before he's ever sworn in. Go back to the scripture of peace and safety, right? And recently we did have the United Nations go and make their own new 10 command. Was it the World Economic Forum make their own 10 commandments and go up to what they thought was Mount Sinai, and their 10 commandments surrounded the preservation of the earth and taking care of the earth. And It's just ridiculous. They said peace and safety, so made me think of that. At the same time, you have Trump promising that he's going to end these wars and be this hero. What happens after that, though? Because if what is stopping people from fighting in the war is their Trump's negotiation skills or his temperament after he finishes his term. This is what happened to Native Americans: is they would make a deal with uh, uh, an elected leader or some leader, but then a new election would happen, and that deal doesn't get carried forward, and so you have Native tribes that are left hanging. They're like, hey, well, we had an agreement. What happened to this agreement? New election. We have to reset everything. You have to reset new negotiations. I would have liked to hear more about them working with religious leaders, uh, more on border security. I would like to hear at least one time a president mention that they're going to counsel with uh, Native American indigenous leaders. It just makes sense to me. All right. Still watching the debate. Key. I feel her frustration. EC. Hello, everyone. Key, welcome. Yes, welcome. I know this has been on for 30 minutes. What parts stood out to you? I have 3 pages of notes, and I kind of just ran through them as fast as I could. I want to be respectful of your time because it's late at night. And some of you probably will watch this later on and don't want to listen to me for 30 minutes. You can watch it yourself. Again, their closing statements were how their plans are, how they're going to carry out their plans. Trump's plan is negotiation. Find out the facts. This is why he gives such a vague answer. And the thing is that would bother me if we didn't already have a history of him being president and giving us vagaries and then having results after, having like very, very fine results that even fit that vague expectation. I'm going to make them pay for it. Yeah, okay, whatever. You're going to make another country pay for that. And then he does it. Right. Whereas you have the Trump and Biden, the Harris and Biden group that are just, oh, well, we'll just use our taxpayers' resources and throw our resources at you to placate you. Because we kind of are really just doing our insider trading, trying to get as much as we can while we're in our positions and go to our fun balls and sorority parties, reunion parties, instead of meeting with the Israeli leader, which is what Harris did, and Trump called her out on it. So, yeah, she focused on the future. The future is the destruction of the past, the destruction of conservatism, traditional values, and the nuclear family. To the back. Yeah, I don't trust the Harris administration. I don't trust her judgment. Trump, he'll get the job done. But the thing is that we need a lasting solution. Lasting solution comes from upholding the Constitution, which is made for a moral society. So really, what it comes down to is you and me being ministers, being moral people ourselves. For example, everything does start. Now, I'll talk to you politically here for a minute. I worked on the GOP. We noticed over $200,000 being local Republican GOP committees throughout the entire state of Idaho. That these people who did not even think conservatively, these people who basically Republicans who hate Trump or not even Republicans at all. Some of them were well-known Democrats and LGBT advocates and abortion advocates. These people were being funded by the Gem State Conservatives, a false name. They're not conservative. Um, they funneled in all this money into every single county to get their own Republican committeemen to be elected. What does that do for them? It means that they can fill in the new Republican committee within each county and give it a new platform within each county and throughout the entire state. They, in turn, vote the way that their financiers and trainers and those who provided everything for them, they just do what they say. And that's literally what they're doing. They're just literally doing what they say, voting the way that they want, getting the funding for their campaigns, everything like that. What that does is it reforms the political parties to say, yeah, we're okay with abortion. What would you like? Would you like it if a very conservative state like Idaho came out and said, we support abortion now? Because that's the direction we're going. And I talked with these people who are advocating these types of things, and they're saying, oh, no, we don't support abortion. And then I'd see them turn around and talk to somebody who's a Democrat and say, yeah, like, of course we're going to allow her choice with all that. I suggest, how about you just don't call it abortion, because it doesn't have to be, you can't save the life of a mother if there needs to be an abortion. Why don't you call that medical practice something different and classify an elective abortion as an elective abortion? Make those distinctions. This way we're not having to say you're putting the life of the mother at risk, because it should not be that situation. That's a medical situation. The other situation is an elective situation. And the guy's like, oh, well, I tried, blah, blah, blah. And then I'd see him go the other direction and hear, when we complain about LGBT, very sexualized things being put into our local public libraries, he's talking to the librarian, and she's going, it's the parents' job to screen all those books. I'm the librarian. I just take them in. It's okay. To me, that was a red flag. I thought, no, the library, you screen what comes into your library. And kids are exposed to those things. Parents are not meant to be puppeteers over their children for every little thing. They teach them correct principles. But if you're exposing toxicity to children who haven't mastered those principles, you are responsible for that. So obviously I'm not popular, right? Because I use common sense. Let's see. Got a couple more comments. Mike Lewis. Camilla's on her fifth is on her fifth accent. Does she have multiple personalities? That's what a lot of people have been talking about. In fact, one of the pregame shows of this debate was, is Trump going to call her by the right name? Is he going to pronounce her name right? Because this is one of the things they tried to take a small thing that doesn't really matter and make it sound absurd to smear this guy's character or image. And that's why she probably came up and introduced herself. Hi, I'm Kamala. Hi, I'm Kamala. So now you can pronounce my name right, kind of thing. That's what I thought. I thought, okay, she just telling him how he wants his name pronounced. They hit on the area of race. Jamaican and Indian. Her name is Indian, first name. So I that doesn't matter. It never mattered before. I don't know why they have to bring that into a talking point. But yeah, she changed her voice. It sounded like she also studied Obama's cadence in talking, and then she would also do her hand gestures, very, very, like she wants a meme made of her face at this debate because of all the different expressions she used. Trump has had the same few expressions over and over, like and he looks like he's exhausted, having to defend the same things for the past bunch of years. The other point that Kamala tried attacking was, well, look at Trump getting charged with all these things. Again, that didn't work. Nobody else is stopping. It's up to the American people, which brings things like assassins funded by leftist groups. For some reason, that guy was registered Republican. Kind of weird how that happens. Idaho, and you know who you are. Called you guys out on it. We showed you your finances. We exposed you, but we even published our own paper locally. Did people listen? No. People like familiarity. People love familiarity. They vote for what is familiar. They do what they're told. I ran into so many people who told me later, like, yeah, oh yeah, the homeschool group. Oh, I was told to vote for you. Yeah, from a homeschool group, a group of people who do their own work and work very hard, go the extra mile, very holistic approach to things. They go to the public school sector. They're too intertwined with the bureaucracy and the network of power. Like, well, that's my cousin. Yeah, I can't vote against my cousin. He lets me off with my DUIs. I get DUI, he lets me go. And that's actually a thing. So thank you, Malad and Oneida County. You are corrupt. We tried to stop it, but no, you made your choice. And that's not just here. It's all over the place. It's all over the place. You need checks and balances, but you need a moral people. Ministry. So look at it this way. The way things are going, we have people so scared that we're going to have a population pop, too many people. Well, we're actually going to have a population implosion where we're not going to have enough people on this earth or in these cities, in these places, to maintain and keep up with the infrastructure that is already in place. There is a population burst that we're going to have to face. Within 100 years from now, the people on this earth will never see as many people as they do today. And so our resources, our draining resources, those are going to be very plentiful. They did talk about climate change. The climate is always changing. We're just not in a glacial maximum, right? In fact, we're in a solar maximum we're going to have within this next year. So the world is always changing. It's like a pendulum. It self-corrects. Whatever we have made impressions with the nuclear bursts on the Earth and changing the tilt. We've literally shook the heavens by sending up the DART spacecraft to crash into not Apophis, Didymos? I forget which asteroid pair twins. And we actually moved it, right? So one way or another, the population growth of the church has slowed, but it's still growing. I got off the phone with a missionary in Mombasa. He's serving in Mombasa. Been a pen pal to him. He worked at an orphanage before becoming a missionary. I think he was raised in the orphanage. I don't think he has anybody else to really talk to or be with. And he went through some huge challenges in becoming a member and then finally getting all those visas settled so he can become a missionary. And so I've been a pen pal to him through that whole process. And then I finally got a video call with him and I saw him and his companion in Mombasa. They're teaching a Muslim woman. So most of the population there is Muslim. And the Muslim population is the more prominent religion. In the world we have Christianity, Judaism, Muslim, Hinduism. We talked about Elder Gong and Elder Betnar going over the pamphlet and communicating with Muslims, being respectful of their traditions and beliefs and how we can relate. He said that that's been very helpful. Learning English has been challenging, but he's doing very well. So that aside, the church is filling all of the earth where everything is failing. Look what is happening in Europe. Like in Ireland, they're begging people to move back to Ireland. They're begging people to fill those areas. They've got tons of migrants from Pakistan and throughout the East that are filling in. Our royal family is going to be extinct, in some years, but uh, we're going to go through a population collapse. What's left standing is the church, our temples, and our connection between heaven and earth, and our family values. So really what it comes down to is, if we want things to change, it's, are we doing our ministering? Ministering isn't just an assign. It's not who you're assigned to. I'm not very good at doing it who I'm assigned to, but I like to minister to everybody I come in contact with. Consider every human interaction as a ministry opportunity. Unless I just want to go to the store and get bananas and get out without talking to people, but then I end up talking to 20 people. And then I end up enjoying it when I was trying to avoid it. So look for those opportunities to minister and make things a lot purer in your own circle. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I'm actually surprised that anyone tuned in, so I appreciate all of you. I have no fear for the future. We could do hard things. Things are supposed to be hard. Christ overcame the world, and so can we, because of him. We just heard from our prophet who just turned 100 years old yesterday. There's no man alive right now who's more loved than that man. There's no man. We would have to go beyond the veil to find someone who's more loved than President Russell M. Nelson. And he has done more to express that love to all